This video tutorial provides suggestions on how to communicate the findings of the counterfactual impact evaluations to the relevant stakeholders. The counterfactual impact evaluations provide solid evidence on what works and what does not work. This evidence can be used by different stakeholders and can serve different purposes. Why to communicate the results of the counterfactual impact evaluations? The policymakers can consider this evidence when deciding about funding and priorities. Public funding is limited and it should be directed to the more effective programs. The people responsible for the program design and implementation can also benefit from counterfactual impact evaluations. The evaluations can help them improve their own work as they can act as a trigger help to improve program implementation and design. The counterfactual impact evaluations can also promote learning and contribute to the wider knowledge base about different programs and their effects. This is interesting for policymakers in other regions and countries, academics and international institutions. The public is also interested whether the public money was well spent. The counterfactual evaluations can contribute to providing transparency and accountability of the funds used. The policymakers can use the counterfactual impact evaluations as guides for next evaluations. For example, if the counterfactual impact evaluation finds that a certain program is not very effective, another evaluation can be launched to find out why it is not very effective and what could be improved. The counterfactual impact evaluation results should be used also when planning new policy initiatives. The results of these evaluations can be used as inputs for impact assessments. However, these goals will not be reached if the counterfactual impact evaluations remain on the evaluators' desks. Therefore, it is very important to disseminate this information to the relevant audiences. This video will give you some tips, which will help you to communicate the counterfactual evaluations more effectively. Well-written evaluation report is at the core of all dissemination activities and it is the main evaluation product. The evaluation report should be clearly written. The conclusions need to be backed up by rigorous evidence and analysis. Technical details can be transferred to the annexes for easier readability. The report should include an executive summary, which extracts the main messages and summarizes the main conclusions and recommendations. Clear and concise executive summary is very important because majority will not read the whole report but only focus on the main messages in the executive summary. Well-written executive summary forms the basis for other dissemination tools, such as press releases or policy briefs. Translate the executive summary to English. Officials and researchers in other countries, European Commission and other international organizations are also interested in your evaluation results. Most likely they will not learn about it, if all the information is only in your national language. Make the evaluation reports publicly available. Sharing the evaluation results widely and publishing them on internet is a good practice. Additionally, the regulatory requirements on the European structural and investment funds stipulate that all evaluation reports should be made public. You can consider also putting technical information, including datasets, in public domain. Full transparency strengthens the credibility of the evaluation and can promote replication. However, when making available also the datasets, pay close attention to confidentiality and data protection rules. All information should be provided in a way so that it is not possible to identify any individual or household. When you want to communicate the evaluation results, one of the most important steps is extracting the main messages from the evaluation report. Well-written executive summary can be helpful. Once you have extracted the main messages, you should communicate them consistently to all audiences. The messages should be clear, simple and easily understood. However, do not oversimplify too much the technical details of the evaluation. This can cast doubt on the rigorousness of the evaluation. If your audience is not interested in technical details about the method, simply say that the analysis was performed using standard statistical methods used for counterfactual impact evaluation. For more interested audiences, you can explain the intuition behind the counterfactual impact evaluation method chosen. People often are more likely to remember the content if images are used. When communicating your message, consider using visual aids, such as pictures, graphs, charts and videos. Evaluation and communication experts should work closely together to ensure that the evaluation results are communicated effectively. The communication specialists can help to distill the essence of the evaluation, translate it into clear messages, and prepare the press releases and other dissemination tools. The communication specialists can also provide advice on how to communicate with different target groups. The evaluation specialists should be involved in communication and ensure that the evaluation results are correctly interpreted. Most organizations do have in-house communication specialists, which could be involved. If your organization does not have such specialists, consider attracting one from outside or providing training on communication for the evaluation team members. Be proactive in communicating the results. Look into the upcoming events as an opportunity to tell about your evaluation. Are you going to meet with senior policymakers, evaluators from other countries or regions, social partners? Consider using these meetings as an opportunity to inform them about the evaluation. Keep an eye on the relevant conferences and consider presenting there. Relevant big events are another opportunity to disseminate the evaluation results. Consider also incorporating the evaluation results in the existing reports or publications. Remember that informing the European Commission about the evaluation is also a regulatory requirement. The annual implementation reports should set out a synthesis of the findings of all evaluations of the program that have become available during the previous financial year. Apart from the annual implementation report, there are other regular reports and publications, which you can use as a platform for disseminating the results of the evaluation. It is a good practice to communicate about your evaluation also in English. Put on social media or on the website of your organization a description of the project and evaluation in English. Add a link to evaluation report, which also should contain an executive summary in English. This will help to disseminate the evaluation results behind national borders. Most stakeholders will not have sufficient time or interest to read a lengthy report, therefore it is important to produce other dissemination tools. Besides the evaluation report itself, consider preparing a policy brief or short report, which could give short and to-the-point explanation of project and evaluation. Prepare also PowerPoint presentations. These presentations should be adapted to each audience and their interests. The core messages should be the same, but the level of detail, length and emphasis can vary. Prepare also press releases. Distribute them once the evaluation is fully finalized. However, counterfactual evaluations are quite specific product and you might need extra effort to attract the attention of general public and media. Finding a good hook is important to ensure larger dissemination. For example, if there is an important event taking place at a local level, link your press release and other dissemination activities with this event. Most people involved in evaluation and public policy are also recipients of different newsletters or are part of one or more email list. Newsletters and email lists can be very effective tools to disseminate the results of your evaluation. To disseminate your message, use also social media, conferences, meetings, workshops and interviews. Also, consider creating videos, flyers, leaflets and writing blog entries. When communicating the results of a counterfactual impact evaluation using social media can be very helpful. To attract attention on social media, use interesting findings from evaluations or intriguing questions in headlines or tweets. Redirect the reader to the evaluation report and other evaluation products. Consider carefully most suitable hashtags used in the language of your post or tweet. For example, #YouFunds or the policy area of the evaluation youth. Another important tip to remember is that the message, dissemination tool, language, level of detail and style should be adapted to each audience. The main audiences are the following: people involved in the design and delivery of the program and senior policy makers who will make financing decisions about the program. The counterfactual impact evaluations are often interesting also for academics and evaluation community at large. The general public and media also sometimes interested whether the public money was spent effectively. Members of the ESF Monitoring Committee and social partners and members are also important target groups. European Commission also wants to learn about the results of the ESF evaluations. Policymakers in other countries or other regions as well as international organizations might be interested in your evaluation. They might take the results into account when designing their own policies. Depending on the scope and topic, consider also other possible target groups for your dissemination activities. For example, non-governmental organizations, professional organizations, business associations, think tanks, municipalities, regional governments, national public authorities and parliaments, project participants and others. Each of the target groups require a tailored approach. Answering these questions will help you to design the appropriate approach for each target group. Ask, how knowledgeable is the audience about the project? For example, you are presenting the evaluation results to the monitoring committee. However, the intervention has been presented in other previous monitoring committee meetings. Therefore the audience has some background knowledge about the intervention and you don't have to spend much time on the description of the intervention. On the other hand, if the audience has never heard about the intervention, you should give more background information about the intervention. Ask, how knowledgeable and interested is the audience about the counterfactual evaluation methods and data? How interested is the audience in technical details? For example, if the audience is interested in technical details, then the appropriate dissemination tools could be written reports or workshops. Technical details on data and method are best delivered in written form. Workshop-type meetings are also a good opportunity to disseminate technical details. If the audience is not interested in technical details, then short articles, flyers, policy briefs can be more appropriate dissemination tools. Think also about how interested is the audience in the evaluation findings. The more affected will be the audience by the evaluation results, the more it is interested in findings. This audience will be also more sensitive about negative findings and defensive reactions can be expected. If the audience is not particularly affected by the evaluation results, they will be less interested and additional efforts will be needed to catch their attention. A related question is what your audience will do about the results. For example, if your audience will use the evaluation results for policy decisions, communicate the results in a format that is helpful for decision makers. What are the topics that your audience particularly cares about? For example, when meeting stakeholders involved in gender equality issues, devote more time to explain how did the intervention affect men and women separately. If the audience can contribute with useful feedback that can improve your evaluation report, organize workshop-style meetings and foresee sufficient time for discussions. I will give you a few examples illustrating the idea that the dissemination activities should be tailored to each audience. As the first example, let us consider the people that are involved in program design and delivery, for example, program managers, program staff or civil servants. What do we know about them? Normally, this group will be most directly affected by the evaluation results. The evaluations usually trigger some changes, for example, increase or decrease in funding or modification of the programmer, and this will have an impact of the daily work of this group. Therefore, they are highly interested in all parts of the evaluation, including technical details such as data, methods, calculations, Findings and conclusions. This group is also highly knowledgeable about the program, data and target group. The communication with this group starts already before the evaluation starts. It is useful to involve them in formulating the evaluation questions and keeping them informed during evaluation. This group typically is the first one with whom to share the evaluation findings, as their feedback can help to improve the final report. You have to foresee sufficient time when communicating with this group. It is best to plan an interactive type of communication workshop, as most likely there will be many questions and comments. This group can use positive findings when promoting the program itself. Special care should be taken when communicating negative findings, and you should prepare for possible defensive reactions. As the second example, let us consider the senior policymakers who make decisions about allocation of funding and priorities. This group is highly interested in the main findings and especially in their practical implications. The findings can influence their decision to continue the program, scale it up or down, or abolish totally. The policymakers can use favorable evaluation results to promote the program and to justify past spending. The senior policymakers do not have time and interest in the technical details. The policymakers normally should be involved before the evaluation starts to be ensured that the counterfactual impact evaluation is policy relevant. Typically, senior policymakers are not involved during the evaluation, but they are one of the first ones with whom the findings are shared. When communicating with this group, communicate key results in accessible manner and skip the technical details. Be short and concise. The third example of a target group is interested public at large and media. This group is not directly involved in the program. The media and interested individuals in general public are curious whether the program worked or not and whether the taxpayers' money was well spent. This group is neither knowledgeable nor interested in the technical details. Communicate with this group only when the evaluation report is fully finalized. When communicating with this group, focus on the main messages, keep the message short and simple. You can also consider disseminating the results together with policymakers and program managers. For example, the communication of the evaluation results can be followed by statement of the policymakers on how they are going to react to the evaluation findings. The policy implementers can supplement the evaluation findings with human stories to illustrate with concrete example how the project influenced the participants' lives. It is also useful to learn beforehand about the attitude towards the project of the particular media and to prepare for the possible questions and negative reactions. As the last example, let us consider academics and evaluation community. They are one of the main audiences interested in the counterfactual impact evaluations. This group generally is not affected by the evaluation findings. This group is interested in the evaluation results for the purpose of learning. They want to be informed about the latest research in their field. For academics, the counterfactual impact evaluations can also give them ideas for further research or application. The evaluation community is interested in all aspects of the evaluation, especially in methods and data, but usually they are less interested in recommendations. This group is very knowledgeable about technicalities, so be prepared to explain and defend your method. When communicating with this group involves the team member who is most knowledgeable about the statistical methods and data. Be prepared also for tough questions and critical comments. Discussing the evaluation results with this group can be very useful to improve the quality of the evaluation. Foresee sufficient time for interactive communication. Use technical language accepted in the field to reduce misunderstandings and strengthen the credibility of your study. Before you start your dissemination activities, it is a good idea to draft a dissemination plan. This will help you to plan and structure your dissemination activities. The dissemination plan explains how the evaluation results will be disseminated. The dissemination plan includes the answers of the following questions. What are your target audiences? What is the message that you want to deliver to each audience? Which dissemination tools will be used to reach each audience? Think also how these tools will be distributed. For example, if you are planning to print policy briefs or flyers, think about the possible events when you can distribute them. What is the timing for each dissemination activity? When deciding on appropriate timing, think about the upcoming decision-making points. Presenting your results at those critical points is likely to have more policy influence. Think also about upcoming big events, conferences, meetings. Think also how much time do you have to deliver the message and choose the appropriate tool. For example, a press release can be produced very quickly, but developing a quality video takes more time. You should also think whether you have a legal obligation to present the evaluation results and take that into account when deciding on timing. You should also think about the available human and budgetary resources for dissemination. All dissemination activities should be appropriately resourced and budgeted. Consider not only the costs of developing the dissemination tools, but also costs of distribution. The dissemination plan should also indicate who is responsible for each dissemination activity. Don't wait with the dissemination plan when the evaluation report is finalized. Think about your dissemination activities at the early stages of evaluation, but revise as needed if new information comes in. It's also useful to look back at the past dissemination activities. How were the counterfactual impact evaluation results disseminated in the past? What were the lessons learned from the past dissemination activities? Sometimes the counterfactual impact evaluations find that an intervention was not effective. Communicating negative results can be difficult, especially if the evaluation will affect the financing decisions or can create reputational risks for people involved. Negative findings can also be discouraging for program managers and people who have been involved in the program delivery. However, in line with the principles of objectivity and impartiality, the evaluators should report also negative findings. Good cooperation with the policymakers and program managers can make delivering of negative findings easier. Explain them from the beginning how counterfactual impact evaluations work. Tell them that negative findings are possible so that they are not taken by surprise. If the negative findings emerge, inform them early. Give them time to prepare corrective measures or decision to abolish the program. The policy responses could be announced together with the communication of the evaluation findings. Sometimes, there are reasons to believe that additional time is needed for the program to show positive impact. For example, it has turned out that there have been some problems related to implementation, which will be corrected in due time. In this case, explain why do you think that additional time is needed and communicate a commitment to re-evaluate the program later on. It is easier to deliver negative messages when they are packed together with positive ones. Each program must have some positive aspects even though they are not always the focus of the evaluation. There can be also positive aspects related to evaluation itself. For example, good cooperation between the evaluation team and the people involved in the program delivery. If there has been good access to data and good quality data, devote time to emphasize these aspects. You can also praise the project team for willing to put up to scrutiny their project and their commitment to improve their work. It is also important to present negative findings constructively. Avoid blame. Each evaluation has its own limitations and uncertainties. Mention those. Both negative and positive findings may not be conclusive and may require further research. Thank you for watching. If you wish to know more about CIE methods after watching this, then follow our videos in the YouTube CRIE channel.